Welcome back to another week of What Was That, where we are probably on our 6th or 7th podcasting platform. Hi Nitesh, how has life been?
Hey Vineet, I'm good. There is the potential for another offshoot podcast of just us trying different softwares every week.
To use podcasts, yeah. It'll be very boring. But yeah, I think a lot of people will empathize with it more. They will understand more. Rather than talking about tax troubles for crypto firms, we should talk about यार तुमने ये ट्राई करा ये भी नहीं चला यार ये भी नहीं चला यार दैट्स द नेम ऑफ आवर ऑफशूट पॉडकास्ट ये भी नहीं चला यार so what's been happening?
Maybe I should get that tattoo. Anyways,
Yeah,
we have a bunch of topics and we'll get to that. But just does the word or does the phrase Bombay Vikings ring a bell?
Bombay Vikings was a band. क्या सूरत है क्या सूरत है क्या सूरत है
Yes,
was that?
precisely that song. Do you remember the music video? It was oversaturated and it had this guy just walking on the street and dancing with a soul patch, if I remember correctly. Right?
Yeah, and the product placement, the whole video was a product placement. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
Yes.
quality one. So that video was shot about 200 meters from where I live now and where I was living then as well. Now I know it was pretty normal in the early 2000s for Bombay folks, and it was Bombay then, for Bombay folks to jog past a random Bollywood celebrity on their morning run on the beach. But for me, growing up in Bangalore when nothing happened, to suddenly see my neighborhood, my streets on the screen on MTV Select was a bloody big deal. The reason I bring it up is one sequence in the video is shot in a hair salon. It wasn't a salon, it was a barber shop. Do you remember that? So that was an actual barber shop. I have had my hair cut in that very seat many times. All right. And that building was razed down, but there is now what can qualify as a salon right next to it now. So that's where I go for my haircuts. As you can see, I just got one, and I swear I'm getting somewhere with this, and it is vaguely business related. This reminded me of I used to do a lot of China trips from say 2016 to 2020 in that period, right up to COVID. And so the daily schedule was the same for all the Indian businessmen who were there. We all used to go to the trade fair. If we were attending the Canton fair, we would go to the trade fair and come back in the evening. And I swear I'm going somewhere with this. All right. During one of these trips, I met a guy who started off importing salon grade appliances. So, the hairdryer or the trimmer that you use, probably Philips or whatever, that's consumer grade, right? But it won't hold up in a salon because those are used like as much as you would use your hairdryer in maybe a year, those are used that much in a week. So the regular consumer brands don't stand up, and the professional brands that are available in the West either aren't available here or they're too expensive because we pay what, $2, $3 a haircut, right? So nobody's going to buy $1,000 equipment, even if it is professional grade. So there was a gap. And what I learned, and this was one of the most fascinating conversations I had, there's in every city, so in Bangalore, in Bombay, in Chennai, wherever, in every city, there's this one shop which started with selling cosmetics, maybe, and then pivoted to wholesale of cosmetics to salons, and then gradually started importing these enterprise grade appliances, hair trimmers and hair dryers and the like. That steam thingy, I don't even know what it's called, but all of that, all the equipment that you need in a salon. And all of this is inevitably made in China, comes with a warranty from the importer, because these are mission critical, right, for the salon. Yeah. So you have a warranty, and servicing is done on site. So eventually these guys had like a team of service engineers who would field warranty calls, run across the city. And this is a completely localized operation. Okay, there are not even regional players. Forget about national players because that's the level of service and those are the margins. So it doesn't make sense. And like we know, it's really hard to build a B2B brand. It's difficult, especially when you try to expand geographically to another city where the founder magic is missing. For offline businesses, it's really tough. So we got to talking, and I asked this guy, okay, so you're almost there because my frame of reference was the diagnostic industry, the health industry, where again you have the same problem. Equipment gets burnt out fast, it gets outdated quickly, and you need people constantly churning through equipment. So in the diagnostic business, you have something called the reagent rental model. So if you're buying, if you're a hospital or a lab, and I swear I'm going somewhere with this, you have
Say I have till Monday afternoon.
and we're glad we picked a Saturday to record then. It's okay. I need to get this out of my system. I should get that tattoo. So you have this massive floor size equipment covering maybe 600, 800 square feet. It costs upwards of $1 million. No hospital is going to buy that. And no company is looking to sell it either because these machines get outdated in like 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. And so they do something called a reagent rental model where you, the hospital, promise me, the equipment manufacturer, that I'll put my machine here. And obviously, it's a closed system. You can only use consumables from my brand, but you promise to give me a certain amount of business every month, right? So my calculation is that if you consume enough reagents and disposables and whatever consumables, my equipment cost will break even because it's still on my books. I'm taking the depreciation and it's a little bit of financial engineering, but it it is a globally accepted model, except in like very frontier markets where there's zero trust. Almost the entire diagnostic industry works on reagent rental. So I asked him, why can't you do this? Coming back to our salon guy, who had an excellent network in his city and covered basically all the salons. And he said, I have the database. My guys are inevitably making a call like once a week because there are so many different pieces of equipment and they're built to a price. So they tend to break down. These guys carry the spares. I said, you're 90% of the way there. Why don't you do equipment rental? Right? Because you already have the inventory. The bits that you haven't sold are just lying in your, because you have to import in bulk, right? You have to import a whole container. Why not let it earn a steady revenue every month?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, apparently they did a pilot, and these are not MBAs. These are not people who have Bloomberg bookmarked on their browser. This is just trial and error, and they're like from first principles, rediscovering AMCs, rediscovering warranty coverage calculations, how much of margin they need to build in, learning it as they go. Brilliant. Okay, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But so I said, why don't you do this? He said, we tried it. The problem with this is established salons. So those are the best customers because they keep adding new locations, and their chances of success are much higher because they've ironed out all the kinks. Those guys are well capitalized. So the equipment cost is like a small percentage of the startup cost for them. And so it doesn't make sense. They'd rather buy the equipment outright, go for a relatively all right, reliable brand, or at least from a reliable vendor who give them a proper service. The only guys who did sign up for this were first time uh, founders, or maybe people who had worked in the industry but hadn't quite cracked the business side of it and finally decided to venture out, the risky bets, and apparently in that particular sub segment, the failure rates are almost as high as in the restaurant business.
It's a difficult. Like, do we have percentages?
No, this is all anecdotal, right? And I did actually.
Even restaurants, like I asked because even restaurants, I keep hearing that the failure rates are very, very high, but I don't know what the figures are actually. It just seems that a new place comes up, either it thrives or it dies.
The US specific data is 90% restaurants fail in the first year. It's the worst possible business you can think of. It has all the downsides of retail, of manufacturing, of staffing, of service. You bring all the bad aspects of all possible businesses in one place, and that's a restaurant. But anyway, we digress. So I asked, what happened? Did you do the pilot? He said, yeah, the only people who opted into this were those who statistically were probably going to fail because they were already at a point where the interiors cost had exceeded what they had budgeted for. And so, because equipment is the last thing that comes in, right?
Yeah.
And so they had already hit a wall by then. And so they found this as an easy way to get in. And then repossession and all that is not so straightforward in India. So yeah, just that. I had completely forgotten that I had this conversation almost a decade back, and the memory came rushing back. Is there a point to this? No, I just remembered that.
I have so many parallels. Like I was thinking while you were talking, co-working is sort of the same thing. That the startups would love it, obviously. If I need people coming from across the city, right? So I need an office in the center of town. At this point, I would just much rather pay 6,000 rupees a seat. And therefore, I have 5 people, 30,000 rupees, I am done versus sitting in my mom's house and, trying to figure out how to get people across. And center of town is well connected by public transport. And early stage startups and all, obviously, you have employees who are more likely to depend on public transport or would prefer it anyhow. Right. So that's one. And as you get bigger, I remember doing the math on that, on when the scales actually tip over to favor getting your own office and actually including security guard, microwave, everything, did a full calculation. It was quite late stage. It wasn't at like even 20, 30 employees. It was fairly late stage unless you're in a farther part of town. So it actually came down to which city also, because is there public transport connectivity to the far reaches of town where you can get good bargains, etc., etc. But overall, in some cities, it was coming to even like 50, 80, 100 people. It makes sense to be in co-working, assuming a 6,000-7,000 rupees a seat. And then that is when it tips over. That is when it makes sense, when the economies of scale of a security guard or a fridge also sort of tip over into, okay, now it makes sense to have your own and start capitalizing. And of course, as you get bigger, then capital is also easy to access. It's easy to park funds into rentals, to plan for the long run. Because the other problem is, again, the risky bets, right? If you're a startup and you don't know if you'll survive for a few months, you obviously don't want to like sign a long-term commercial lease, right? How will you apportion X amount per year when you don't even know if you're going to be around for a few months? So yeah, and as the risk abates, as you grow, you start moving into your own place. But interestingly enough, and this was also very clear after COVID, most of these places are running on very, very, very high occupancy right now. They were the first to fail when COVID happened. But they were also the first to bounce back because people are getting used, like there's hybrid work happening. There's like 1 day a week sort of stuff. Companies don't want to take the risk of bringing on their own office, of adding a new office. So, yeah. And the repossession risk that you mentioned is not there because, the startup is in the co-working spaces premises, not the other way around. So, yeah, that's an interesting parallel.
Fascinating. Cool. One last thing before we come back.
Still not Monday afternoon, so yeah, go for it.
Do you remember watching, was it an English movie? Yeah, a English movie called Everybody Says I'm Fine in the early to mid 2000s. Does that ring a bell?
The name rings a bell.
It had Rahul Bose. It had what I think was the first time I saw Baman Irani. Maybe I have my timeline mixed up. Maybe Munna Bhai came out before that. But yeah, Baman Irani, Koel Puri. The premise was that it's centered around this high-end salon. And the main guy who owns the salon and who is like the celebrity stylist there, he can hear people's thoughts while he's cutting their hair. Is that familiar? It was
I've seen it, but now the title makes sense now. Everybody, yeah, exactly. It was very see, yeah.
Rahul Bose was unhinged. He dyes his hair, if I remember correctly. I vaguely remember something like a swastika on his head. I don't know for sure, but that's how I remember it. It was a great movie. I know I can't find it anywhere online.
You know, the original print of English August also got lost, right?
Right.
Now they seem to have found it. They seem to have found it a couple of years ago, and now they're working on restoring it. Sorry,
The fuck was that?
headphones.
Ah.
Plastic, thankfully.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe this also got lost. I don't know.
Huh. So my haircut this morning took me down lots of old rabbit holes. I don't know.
The haircut would have been like if it's a local salon, then the haircut would have been quicker than the rabbit hole. I mean.
Yes. It was. It was.
So let's move on to story one. Nitesh, what is your story one of the web?
Let's do that. Story number one: Pink Fong is going for an IPO. Pink Fong is a Korean company. They're aiming for a $500 million valuation. Is the name familiar?
I already know because I read the link you sent me or whatever, but yeah, I did not know before that.
Yeah, are the guys behind that god awful Baby Shark video, which has, and I have to state this for the record, 15 billion views on YouTube. Just that video, not the channel, just that one video. The most watched video on YouTube.
I'm guessing that's like 15 billion views from like 20 children.
Just on.
Look, including yours, I'm guessing, including yours.
We had a very brief Baby Shark phase, and in fact, that's when I realized not so much Baby Shark, but more so Cocomelon, which I'll get to, which is the where I wanted to take the story anyways. We had like a 3-week Cocomelon phase because in the beginning, even I like Cocomelon. This is like really well designed nursery rhymes, great animation, bright colors. Even I was enamored for the first 2 or 3 weeks. And then I realized this is crack for babies. There's no other way to put it. When you stop Cocomelon cold turkey for a child, they go into withdrawal. Actual withdrawal, actual jitters, moodiness, loss of appetite. All that happens. All actually happens. Yeah. So just for contrast, Baby Shark, the Pink Fong channel, has 81 million subscribers, almost 82, and cumulative views of 50 billion, just a shade over 50 billion. And the Cocomelon channel, which is a US based channel on the same lines, which was acquired for a valuation of almost $3 billion a couple of years back. They have 193 million subscribers, cumulative views of 201 billion, almost 202 billion.
Wow.
Their most watched videos on the Cocomelon channel, the top 5, 7.5 billion, 7 billion, 4.5 billion, 4 billion, 3.5 billion. Billion. And these are just like the top 5.
Yeah, it's. I'm also not surprised. Kids watch videos like it's like a ratio of 50:1, right?
Yeah.
Even for like if I watch a video on YouTube, I'll watch it once. If it's a tutorial that I need to come back to, quick tutorial, watch it like twice or thrice.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube music, my most popular, my favorite tracks I listen to maybe 100 times, 200 times. Otherwise, like 2 to 5. Kids watch this stuff like 500 times in a day. It's just on loop. It's just
On loop. Yeah. On loop.
I remember went to my ex's brother's place once and they had 2 young kids, and that 1 week I must have heard Let It Go like I was I had like Let It Go as the background to my dreams for like 2 weeks after that.
Wait, Let It Go was a net positive because it was used brilliantly in Ted Lasso. Do you remember that?
I haven't seen Ted Lasso. I should. I really should.
You must. You must. Season 1, I think.
Hmm.
Beautiful. Beautiful. The lyrics make sense. All of it makes sense in the context. So just for that, I'll forgive Let It Go. Yes, my daughter also went through a Frozen phase. And yes, I detest the entire album. Although I know it and could probably sing it from memory.
In your sleep.
So yeah, but coming back to the business story, South Korean company going for a $500 million valuation, which would make it a micro cap in South Korea. But interesting that's happening. Which also reminds me, Indian streaming revenue is up massively in the past year, some 40% jump from the year before that. I'm pulling the number off the top of my head. But interestingly, what happened was Wink and Ghana have either imploded or moved completely to a subscription model now. And so revenue has spiked for these guys. These guys being the happy holders.
No, did you say imploded or revenue aspect?
They are no longer able to sustain the ad driven. I'm talking about Wink and Ghana. They are no longer able to sustain the ad driven model. So they're moving to subscription. They're the last two holdouts, I think.
And how are they doing? Any idea yet how they're doing on the subscription model?
Too soon to tell, but I'm sure they'll have like a very budget positioning and they should do all right. I don't know. See, anyways, it's a winner takes all fight.
Doesn't have to be, right? In this case, there's no network effect.
But between YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, and Amazon Music,
I'm guessing 3 of these 4 have very little penetration outside of the metros. Like, I would assume Spotify, Apple Music. Sorry, which was the 4th one you mentioned? YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and
Amazon Music.
Amazon Music.
Yeah.
I would think there's very little penetration of these last 3, other than YouTube. And YouTube, because they've made a huge success of their ad-driven model, so they can sustain longer, and it's probably very profitable for them already. Right, so they can keep the free tier going. Gut feel, I would think that Apple Music, Amazon Music especially, would not have made much headway outside of the metros.
So do you, I know I'm just pulling this out of thin air, but do you think outside of metros, Indian audiences would be okay with a subscription model? Would they be willing to pay? Because that hasn't been the case historically.
That's why I was very curious to see how Wink and Ghana are doing on a subscription model. I get very surprised. Like, YouTube is my most useful subscription in terms of just the money I spend versus the value I get from it and the value I get from not getting bombarded by ads. Right. True. And you split that family plan like 6 ways and it's like 50 rupees a month per person. Right. That's great value. But I have friends who still listen to the ads. I'm like, why don't you just upgrade the liquor? Why? Right. It's fine. So
I must confess, I finally gave in to your prodding, which makes you an influencer as well, and paid for YouTube starting last month.
I was this close today to paying $80 for a Bloomberg subscription.
It's so tempting.
It's very tempting. Also because business news is crap for the most part. We've discussed multiple times. We've given up. I don't know if you had them. I've had the Ken for a while. I've had PM, the Morning Context for a while. I've had ET multiple times. And that website is, I don't know what to say about it. Every other day, on the top right corner, it will say Vineet Premium, ET Prime subscriber. And next button is subscribe. And every day I get a pop-up saying subscribe. And sometimes it will say, why don't you subscribe? Go to your profile page, and the profile page tells me that I'm a free member and also shows me that my ET Prime subscription is valid till October 2025.
I quite like the print edition.
Yeah.
I've been a subscriber for almost 20 years now, more than 20 years now. I like the print edition. So I've gone through the whole journey of starting at 15, 16, considering this is business gospel, to now understanding that, okay, this then is the mainstream narrative, and it's sometimes true and sometimes it's not. But at least here's what's being said in the public square. That's the value I derive from ET now.
I should automate sending the PDF edition straight to my Kindle Scribe and read on that, which is a possibility. Somehow it feels that this is a lot of paper. And I know recycling and all, but that's a lot of paper. So I just can't bring myself. There is value in it, but I can't bring myself to subscribing to a print newspaper again. Somehow.
Guess how many newspapers I subscribe to, or my household subscribes to? 5.
5. Moving on. Tell me one thing. What is their? Do they have a business model outside of YouTube?
Merchandising.
Merchandising, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that must be a.
Bluey, which is a show I absolutely love and highly recommend, has a theme park now.
Sorry, what's the show? Bluey.
Bluey. You haven't heard of Bluey? It's a kid show which is way too clever, way too funny to just be considered a show for kids. Like, I've sat and watched all the episodes at least twice now with my kids. It's that good and it's that funny.
Nice.
I
I understand a lot of pop culture. Like not having kids, I am not prodded into a huge ecosystem of media consumption. So my first story of the week is example number 2, that AI actually stands for actually Indian. We remember case point number 1 was last year or a year and a half ago, where Amazon had this thing called Just Walk Out. They opened a store in the US where it was effectively just pick up, come in. Everything is linked to your Amazon account anyhow, and just pick up stuff and walk out. And AI is going to basically bill you for it. And you just see it in your Amazon account, it will be charged to your card automatically because AI is that amazing. Turns out they ended that experiment because it relied on human moderators and data labelers. And moderators is also interesting because it sounds like, right, it's happening automatically and someone's just checking, but no. 700 out of every 1,000 Just Walkout sales had to be reviewed by Amazon's team in India in 2022. Right. They wanted 50 out of every 1,000 to get a manual check, but they are admitting, whatever, that 700 out of 1,000 sales were going through Indians sitting in India, going through those cameras, checking those sales. And I'm guessing if they've admitted 700 internally also, it was probably closer to 1,000 out of 1,000. Yeah. Or it was like 700 were checked and 300 had errors, which no one ever found out about. But yeah. So that was case point number 1. And we know that even OpenAI uses a lot of people sitting in Africa to moderate content, to run a bunch of checks. It's like Amazon had this scheme called Mechanical Turk, where people do tasks, right, over the internet for cheap. So yeah, now we have this very well regarded, well storied, well, I wouldn't say well regarded, but well moneyed, well funded startup called Builder.AI, which raised $415 million from companies like Microsoft, SoftBank. Oh gosh, it's always SoftBank is always involved in the biggest flubs, right? And the Qatari government's sovereign wealth fund, valued at over $1 billion. This is the first. So what has happened is, so these guys, Builder.AI, it was a no-code app development startup that AI will just develop your app for you, right? You just, they said they will make app development as easy as ordering pizza. So yeah, there's a bunch of Reddit discussions also on this, that people trying to use this no-code AI-based app development were still getting timelines of weeks or months, that we will build you a prototype in 12 to 18 weeks. That's hardly as easy as ordering pizza, right? If my pizza is going to arrive in 18 weeks, I don't think I want that pizza. So what was going on was a bunch of Indian developers were sitting in the back end and doing all the coding. So there was no or very little AI. It was just a regular software development shop, which just happened to raise $450 million, including from SoftBank and Microsoft. It has now completely imploded. And now everyone is like, what? You didn't check? Oh, what? You didn't check? And nobody checks. Is this VCs finding shiny new thing? Oh, AI app development. And it has completely imploded. And somebody in India, one of their creditors, has now just seized their bank account. So their last $5 million is now completely inaccessible. And no payback happens. So this is the first time a big AI startup is publicly imploding for having, done fraud in this sense, this kind of fraud, not financial fraud or not, but fraud that they were claiming that it was all done by AI just to attract investment. But actually, it was just people. I
I like how you started the sentence with first of many. Yes, it will be the first of.
It absolutely will be the first of many. It absolutely.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Statistically, it has to be. This is a hot new space. Everyone got sucked in. It's like any gold rush. A few people will actually mine gold, and the rest are going to be outright fraud.
And the funny thing is,
And the Fortnite knows it, Google knows it, Microsoft knows it, everybody knows this. It's a numbers game. No? It's just
the thing is, at some
you can't miss out.
the fool theory has to run out, right? The greater fool theory runs out of fools unless you IPO in time, right? In which case, the retail investor.
You have the ultimate bag holder, so the retail market. That's the dream, no? Everyone to get there.
Yeah, the funny thing about this one is that people on Reddit were saying a year ago, there's threads from a year ago where people are like, look, this is not AI. There is no AI here. I will quote someone who says from a year ago, right? It markets Builder.AI markets itself as a no-code or AI-based app builder, but is like any other US-based software company, providing services by having developers build their applications. It's productized its service, right? You can add features as you see fit. Each feature will cost you a lot. It adds up to a pretty heavy price. If you have thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars and 6 months to get your app built, then you can choose to go forward. So there is a whole thread of people saying, look, there is. So obviously, these are people not inside the company. So they can't say that there's no AI, but they are saying it on the basis of the fact that what is the benefit of AI here if it is still going to take you a few months to develop, right? Then, like the point of AI is instantaneous. It should be instantaneous, right? Or at least very, very quick, even if you have human reviews. Otherwise, what is the point and why is there a $1 billion valuation attached to this? And the fact that they're taking a few months to develop an app, which is supposed to be as easy as ordering a pizza, means there is fraud, there is lying going on.
In their defense, ordering your custom app is as easy as ordering a pizza. It's the delivery part that is taking time. I'm sure they made the ordering part quite seamless.
Well, like, do you like? Yeah, would you like a new topping on that?
Fair enough. That bit was quite easy. No? It's the making. It's not the taking of the reservation. It's the holding.
You are correct. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, it's the first of many. Like you were saying, it's the first of many, and yeah, par for the course. I'm not surprised. We were getting to what then is the role of the public markets? Are they just the final bag holder? In theory, during the IPO process, you have the sharpest minds evaluating a company and deciding if it holds up to scrutiny. The problem is the incentives are all fucked up there because the person doing the scrutinizing is the investment bank who only get paid if the company does actually list. And so they are not going to point out red flags except to say, look, this is too egregious to the company, cover it up or do something about this, spin it off, whatever. This will not pass muster. Not treat this, but conceal it better. That's just how it goes. That's how you end up with a Gensol, right? Which I've been trying to avoid talking about for quite a while now. It took a couple of years, but it went through the whole hype cycle, and finally, public markets caught up. And it's unfortunate. This could easily have been flagged much earlier. Ideally during the IPO process. If not that, then during the multiple rounds of funding that they raised. But it didn't happen. And for the large part, yes, the people who bought right at the top when the promoters were selling and everybody was, the smart money was getting on, were individual investors, retail investors, either directly or through mutual funds. Yeah, they're the ones who
So
are
this,
floating rate.
we have heard that another problem is that IPOs are getting delayed. Like they're
Mhm.
very, very, very late stage now because there's so much private capital coming in at the earlier rounds.
Yeah,
Companies who need public money far earlier in their growth process than they
yeah.
do now because with all these big funds putting in private capital. So therefore, the company is already massively overvalued by the time it gets to the public markets.
There's no meat
And
left on the
poor
bone.
companies are gets to the public markets.
Yeah, that is true. It's unfortunate. It's true.
So the theory that the
And
sharpest minds also are going through red herring prospectuses, prospecti, whatever the word is. Let's go with prospectuses. To compare, okay, this is a good IPO, this is a bad IPO. It works if there's like a huge market for IPO, like if there's a bunch of companies going to IPO, right, on a regular basis. If that number itself is falling, then everyone wants in on the action.
hmm,
So yeah, overvalued over everything.
so
What do you make of that?
banking market. It's a global phenomenon. No? This so even like the cycle itself still holds. Every time you have a bull market, you'll have all kinds of trash companies doing IPOs, but the numbers and shelves are falling, especially companies which have like a huge runway for growth, which are in a space where you can legitimately at least project that okay, if this market continues to grow at the rate at which it is growing and this company continues to hold the market share that it is holding, it's going to be enormous in 5 years, in 10 years. But as a retail investor, you just don't have access to it because they don't need your money. And the private side of it is really fucked up because there's no price discovery, right? There's no daily valuation of the companies happening, no pricing happening by in an open market. So markdowns happen and ridiculous inflations of value happen because it depends on your needs at that moment, what you want uh, and know your rooms to be worth on your books.
Yeah.
it's it's terrible. The entire structure is terrible, but it works well for people on the inside, and so it's not going to change. It's just going to keep getting worse. So you have like the odds of finding a Titan or a Bajaj Finance in the early 2000s, where you have this tiny company and they have this huge open field in front of them, and if they just execute well, they're going to become a nifty 50 or Sensex company in 20 years, and you know that you have the conviction, and so you place your bet, so to speak, or partner with them depending on how you approach investing. That's just going to keep getting harder and harder. The small caps that we have now, in general, small caps are of lower quality, but they are getting worse. The newer small caps are quite terrible. Maybe I'm biased because we're just at the end of quite a massive bull run, so a lot of trash came onto the market. But the all the new companies that I've seen, at least, nothing where you would say, okay, I that old Warren Buffett saying, right? That would I buy these shares if I couldn't sell them for the next 10 years? Nothing at all. Even with a company that I like, just don't see the quality and the longevity in either the management or the business model to still be around in 10 years. And
By the way, this is not investment
that,
advice. Gamer, this is not investment advice.
yeah, this is my opinion, and I'm not speaking about any specific companies. And this is really sad. So that's my closing argument. It's really sad because small cap investing is one of the most exhilarating and intellectually challenging things that you can do as an investor. You will probably end up underperforming even the simplest index, but it is just so satisfying to find that hidden gem and know everything about the company and be on the earnings call, and some analyst asks, why did you buy this car, how do you justify this, and watch management say fumble, accept their mistakes, just go through that whole journey. It's maybe it is me cosplaying as a VC. I don't know. Maybe I have that hidden desire somewhere. But this appeal of partnering with a small company from the beginning and being a part of their journey for a couple of decades is really appealing. And sadly, the companies that I see today, or at least the ones that have IPO'd in the last 2 or 3 years, just don't have it. And that's it.
Yeah.
I'm on a roll today, no? That's my third rant.
You're on a roll, but this is the first time you've actually gone into like life is sad and economy is sad and things are sad. Last time was all about that. This is your first time today. Doing well.
I was hoping the haircut will cheer me up, and it worked for half an hour.
Till we talked about Builder.AI. What's your story too?
My story too is unfortunately Trump, but nah, fuck that. We'll leave Trump for the last 5 minutes. I don't want to give him more space than that. Tinder. Were you ever a user of Tinder, or are you? I don't mean to.
Not anymore. I've been dating someone for a year and a half, but well, not a user of Tinder for the last 10 years, I would say. Early Tinder was nice when it had real people. Then it became scam central. And more so abroad. If I would go abroad in the last 5 years and log into Tinder, it was crypto scams. Just bots. You can tell very clearly that they're bots. And local, you chat for 2 minutes and then they'll start requesting you for money on some app. Right. India, it is a very funny phenomenon. How do I describe Tinder? Firstly, Tinder has some 6 or 7 different kinds of subscriptions that they're trying to sell you. It is not one model. It is not like, the other apps would be like, yeah, please upgrade. Pay us like 700-800 rupees mahina. And yeah, you get more likes, you get more swipes, you get more information about who's swiping on you, blah, blah, blah. Tinder had some 6 different models. Gold, plus, premium, I don't know what all, right? And every third, whatever. Then they introduced ads, which were very funny. Then there was this phenomenon, which has nothing to do with the business side of it, but it's really interesting that there were lots of women with Bhagwan Ji ki murtis as their profile photos. Lots of There were lots of women who would put up their wedding pics as their profile pic, as a display pic. There were lots of women who would put up, pics of them at some celebration or wedding with their husband and their child in the profile pic. I have no idea what's going on. I don't even want to speculate. So no,
I think what happened was they probably gave access to the app to their Facebook account or their Instagram account. I don't know. And so as they keep updating the pictures, they keep updating here, whether or not they're active users. That's my theory. I don't have a theory about the mythological pictures, but for
I would say
being a life update, that's probably what's happening.
I would say it's probably the same. That even the God pictures are coming straight from Facebook or something, and these guys just don't know it yet.
Bizarre. Anyways, the reason I bring up Tinder is they're piloting a new feature where women can filter by height. Like they can give a preference. It's not a hard filter, but they can give a preference of I would like to match with somebody above this height, or I'm presuming even below this height, depending on their preference. And my operating knowledge of this is that Tinder's gone to shit. Even as like a hookup app, there are much better alternatives. Like you said, it's overrun with bots and scams and phishing attacks and I don't know what else. So still, Tinder is a part of Match.com, and if there's even a little bit of acceptance of this feature here, it will probably percolate to all their other apps. Match owns like most of the dating industry, all the big apps, almost all the big apps, and they don't shy away from a fight. So I don't see any competitors coming up either. They either killed or acquired anything that came up. Segue again. There was this app called Thrinder, which was specifically for people looking for, how do I put this? Opening up their relationship. Yeah, sure. That's a polite.
Yeah, like the old term being threesomes and the new term being thruples.
Yeah, so
Thruples,
that's where the
as it is.
it was a play on Tinder, Trinder, and Match sued the hell out of them, and they had to rebrand to Field. I think, as in playing the field. But anyway, segue aside. I don't think it is like this is a slippery slope, right? You don't want to normalize body measurement filters
Why?
because it will lead to uncomfortable places.
Why? And so you have picked up a vibe story instead of a number story. So I want to get into this, even though a height is actually technically a number. Why? Like people are allowed to have preferences, right? And also, by the way, so I have fired up Tinder in Scandinavian countries. Women and anywhere abroad actually, height is people like women write, okay, only so and so height and above is. Why? It's a very common. It's a preference. It's okay. People are allowed to have preferences. There's nothing ableist about it also, right? You can still support people of all kinds and all kind. I'm not saying lack of height is a disability, right? My poor 5'7.5" self. You'll notice I said 5'7.5", trying to reach up to 5'8". Like, but like people are allowed to have preferences, right? It's like yeah, you choose who you are attracted to, and maybe you don't even choose, right? You are attracted to whom you are attracted to. Why is that a problem?
Uh, it's interesting. So you have this balance, right? Because this is the ultimate marketplace.
By the way, no,
As in,
no. Since we're on a vibe story, I'm going to get on your case about this. You know, the ultimate marketplace, keyword being market. I have also been on marriage websites in India, right? Matrimonial, whatever, right? You can mark any damn thing you want as a preference. Anything. Obviously, height is a filter there. Caste, obviously, right? So there's nothing left. Way
you need
everything. Also makes me wonder now, all those years that I was on Bumble and Hinge. In fact, met my girlfriend on Bumble. And I'm wondering if there was no height filter on it. Because to me, to you, it sounds surprising. To me, it's like, like women have been putting this on Tinder in their, bio. Anyhow, only men above so and so height need swipe. Right.
you might as well institutionalize it, right? Is Bumble the one where you need to write essays before you can?
No, they are. You ask like 3, 4, 5 questions.
That's it.
Three, four,
And
five.
that must be where you need to write like long
Not essays.
answers.
But again,
Okay, but
yeah, they make you answer 3, 4, 5 questions.
yeah,
Yeah, like so I would say the most verbose of the apps is OkCupid. Again, my experience being very, very old. Also, a lot of these apps were then like OkCupid I was on like maybe 10 years ago, right? When I think it had not been acquired by Match or was on the verge of being acquired or had just been acquired. So apparently that also has gone through a lot of changes over the years post acquisition, obviously. Right. So that was a very verbose app earlier. It was a website, not even an app. Right. So made you write a lot, but it was actually okay. At least it was different from just, judge person entirely on the basis of one photo.
picture. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I just realized you're like a veteran of dating apps. I did not know that.
Which is
Way outside my area of competence that I'm just glad that I'm not dating anymore. I'm so grateful that I haven't been on the dating market, on that meat market for over a decade. I am grateful. And
They're very good at giving you the illusion that you need to be on the apps. They are amazing at giving you that illusion. There's so much choice, right? But it is just so shallow and so pointless. I could go on a 15-minute rant on my issues with these dating apps and on online dating in general as compared to just organically meeting someone in the real world. And you can't, like post COVID especially and post 35, you barely meet new people organically, new single people. So it's sort of like a necessary evil, these apps, but the amount of effort you have to put in and the amount of depression you have to go through to deal with all this. Oh God, no. And the thing is, they'll lose you as a customer, right? If you if you actually get into a serious relationship, you're not supposed to be paid. So your best customers stop paying you. And the same is true with the matrimony apps.
So, as somebody who's actually qualified to have an opinion on this, uh, in principle, we have established you're okay with height as a body measurement, as a filter. Is there any body measurement where you draw the line? I'm not trying to be risky. I'm just curious. Is there
No,
here? No,
it's all fine.
no. You're okay. All right.
You're allowed to be
Yeah.
ready to. So two things. I'll give you the theoretical case and the practical case
Mhm.
also. Theoretically, yes, you can be okay with all kinds of people and still be attracted to a certain kind of person, right? If I have only dated, well, mostly I've dated Indians, right? Partly because I am in India, partly even abroad, I connected with a couple of Indians, right? More. Does that mean I'm a racist towards other whatever? But people are attracted to whom they're attracted to. There's nothing wrong with it. So in which case you might as well express that and filter for that. The practical case is you only have so much time, right? And you only want to spend that time meeting the people that you think you will connect with. Of course, we don't know, nobody understands chemistry, especially including these apps. Nobody understands what actually works. But still, you want to have certain filters. Let's say I connect with a woman, right? We hit it off, we chat a lot. See, there's also those layers that you have to go through to actually meet someone, right? There's the whole banal conversation about, hey, how's your Thursday going? Delhi with especially the women are trying to gauge if the guy is a psychopath or not. It's very important for them. And the guy is putting in extra effort to not appear like a psychopath. That don't worry, I will not murder you. I am not carrying 6 knives in my Thar. Right. So there is a bit of drama going on from both sides also. There's a bit of, you are projecting a certain personality you have to. So the conversations get even more banal that way. So there is that whole chain of, acha, what are you here on this app for? How's your Thursday going? How's your Friday going? Hey, how's work today? That absolutely pointless, irritating conversation that has to happen on a dating app. And then you have 4 or 5 of those chats over time with multiple people, mind you, and then try to remember because obviously it's a numbers game. So it is essentially after that, you then you talk on the phone a couple of times and then you make a plan to meet. NCR is huge or any city is huge. You only have so much time. It's a 5 to 6 hour time commitment, right? And then I end up going there and then she's not attracted to me just because I'm short. I mean, who's winning in that case? So might as well save ourselves that time. People are allowed to be attracted to anyone they want to be attracted to. Yeah,
Fair. All right. My final argument against this is when you have such specific granular control over your preferences, are you not shutting the door on serendipity?
well, absolutely, for sure. But these apps are not wrong. These apps are not meant for serendipity. How do you you can't plan for serendipity by meeting 100 people. Okay, let me see if serendipity occurs. You can't. There are just way too many people out there. Right. So how do you even gauge it? If you don't have any filters, on what basis do you gauge a person? And I fully admit that chemistry is chemistry, right? And nobody knows how to. I don't know myself why I got attracted to a certain person or not. Like we have types, but more than that, we don't know. So you can't plan for serendipity in these apps. You just can't. You can't meet 100 people.
Hmm. Ain't nobody got time for that.
So yeah,
Fair.
you should tattoo that also on your third one.
No, I'm all out of third one will have to go here.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. What's your second story?
My second story is also around AI. When AI forcing itself into areas where it has no right to force itself. There's a university in New York. which basically had,
Mhm.
for his graduation ceremony, it had an AI voice read out the names of the students who were graduating for some reason, rather than one of like the dean or somebody, right, from like some human being, which the college would hopefully have a lot of, right, on its rolls. They had an AI voice reading out, and there's a video that I'll link. The students have to come on stage, pop out their phone, scan a QR code, and the AI voice will read out their name as they go to accept the certificate from a person, their degree from a person. Why can't that person just read out the name? Nobody knows. So the story itself is just that the AI butchered a lot of people's names, but the point is why? Why do we need this? Like, we still have people in this world. Why is this something that AI is necessary for? And
Mm.
so much more cumbersome. Just give the guy a list, right? Somebody who ideally knows the students, but obviously no one person on campus is going to know all the students. But that's okay. Anyway, it is still someone from your institute. But why add so many steps? Keep come on stage, pop out your smartphone, scan a QR code, right, which is linked to an app which has your registration details. You have to upload your name earlier, including phonetic symbols. Test if it is pronouncing your name properly. Right. So then when you scan the QR code, it'll go into the app and then it'll understand it was you because you're pre-registered, and then it will say out your name. And the AI screwed up a bunch of names. Of course it did after all this.
At the very least, they could have hired a couple of Indians to recognize the students and say out the names in a thick Indian accent. No? At the very least.
Maybe this AI is from another country. Or maybe actually maybe this was Indians and the students who complained are from other races.
Other. So those are the names that they didn't butcher. Only the Indian names. Oddly.
So Ramasubramaniam is proper, but they screwed up Jack Smith. I don't know.
Does the college teach an AI course? Was it marketing?
We call it reason AI course. It's really funny. Let me read this out. Well ahead of the event, Pace University officials directed students to visit a website where they could phonetically spell their names and confirm how they were pronounced. Why? To ensure your name is pronounced correctly, you must register to attend commencement through Tassel. Tassel is this app, this AI app, this company.
Uh-huh.
By the way, Tassel is a private company that claims to have helped more than 600 schools deliver the perfect moment for millions of students over 20 plus years. Deliver the perfect moment for millions of students. But also, this line stands out to me. I thought, like, when I saw the headline and started reading the story, I was like, it's a one off, right? It's a college doing a stupid experiment and failing at it. But no, the use of AI to read student names has been met with significant blowback from college grads across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been happening across the country. Why? It's a very niche thing, right? You would think. Using, like, people won't wake up and think, how can I use AI today? I should just, let's use it at our graduation ceremony to get students to read out our student's name versus one of the 10 people who will already be on stage. It's a very niche thing, right? But it's being used by universities across the countries. So I'm guessing it is this company Tassel offering this as an add-on to
Right.
to these who are already clients. That's I guess.
I just checked out Tassel's website and I now know less than I did before I visited it.
That's post AI company, isn't it?
ठीक है. They got the headline that they were looking for, and the entire experience, which is once in a lifetime for most of them, was made measurably worse by forcing AI in the most incongruous place. Okay, cool.
Speaking of forcing AI in the most incongruous or congruous ways, this week, so Copilot is a few months old on my bloody Microsoft 365 account,
Mm-hmm.
but it's getting worse. And this week now, Gemini is part of my Gmail account, trying to force its way into absolutely everything. Does consent not matter anymore?
See, we managed to discuss Tinder the whole way without talking about consent. And the moment AI comes in, we use the C word.
Tinder is all about consent. Tinder is all about consent. You have to right swipe. I can't left swipe on Copilot, unfortunately. That is my second.
Yeah, we need to wrap this up. So I will quickly say that a Financial Times columnist, this was going to be my third story, and it is funny as hell. A Financial Times columnist wrote an article about a month ago. Let me get the exact date. I have it here. In which he coined a new phrase: Trump always chickens out. Taco. Now, this is clever on so many levels because, like Back to the Future, uh, taunting Marty McFly by calling him a chicken. So, you have that direct hit of calling Trump a chicken. Second, it alludes to a Mexican food, which is just brilliant. Third, it's an acronym. And for some reason, these guys in other countries love acronyms. So it hits like three proper goalposts in one go. Oh, and
Well, it's an acronym of a very accepted, very popular word that people have nice, positive, happy associations with. So it's not even a new acronym. It's a perfect backronym.
So a reporter actually asked Trump what Wall Street analysts say. Thankfully, she didn't call out Rob Armstrong by name. Otherwise, the Financial Times would have been banned in the US. Wall Street analysts are using the term taco. Trump always chickens out. And Trump goes on a whole rant. And he ends with the most satisfying expression that you can get out of Trump, which is nasty. Every time something gets through to him, through his thin skin, he uses the word nasty. It's quite a tell. So it's very satisfying every time he says that. I vividly remember him using it for Hillary Clinton in one of their debates. Same thing. She got through to him, punched him on the nose, metaphorically. And his response was, such a nasty woman. And same thing here. So Trump always chickens out. Great acronym. Great podcast. Acquired is fantastic. Think Odd Lots, which is lighthearted but covers pretty serious topics. Acquired by FT is the opposite. They have a UK host, so you have that tongue-in-cheek British humor, and you have Rob Armstrong from the US, and he's a seasoned journalist, and he's been through all these cycles, and he's just happy to be here, and he calls bullshit when he sees it. It's just a fun counterpoint to Odd Lots in that it doesn't take itself so seriously. I quite like the Acquired podcast on which Rob Armstrong is a host. So I recommend that.
I haven't heard all of Odd Lots, but my favorite Odd Lots episode was when Matt Levine was there and they caught, I think it was SBF, admitting that he was just
that's laid out. And this was a year before all the chaos happened, or at least 6 months before that. He said, no, this is a black box. I heard that episode and I was just as shocked as what is he saying? And nothing happened after that for 6 months. He was still featured on the Sequoia homepage as, here's a founder you should aspire to be like. And Odd Lots is great. Matt Levine is obviously great, but Odd Lots is like almost an institution now because of all this reporting that they have done. A lot of memorable episodes. So they are humorous, but they're still important and they know it. Acquired doesn't have any of that baggage. They're just here to have a laugh and talk about the news of the week. Kind of what we're trying to do, but not succeeding at least to the extent that they are.
Hey, our 6 followers like it. Like our 6 listeners like it.
I
assume.
I like it.
I assume. I'm sorry to our listeners. And
I've been saying Acquired. It's unhedged. Acquired is a whole other podcast. My mistake. It's unhedged.
The unhedged podcast. Unhedged. Oh, that I never heard of. I thought you did mean acquired.
My mistake. Yeah. No, unhedged is the FPE podcast. Acquired is it's a whole.
Acquired is acquired. Yeah,
it's quite nice. You want me to illustrate? Or no,
That's not, I will,
that for a yeah.
yes,
I was talking about unhedged. My mistake. Yeah.
unhedged, I will subscribe.
But Trump always thickens out. What are you gonna do? All right, that's everything for you. So I need to run.
See you all next week. Bye, Nitesh.
We managed to end on the Saturday itself. So yeah,
Yes, and
I'll go.
on a happy note.
I'll go guess the tattoos now.
Yes.
Bye bye.
All right.
See you. Man.